Hello everyone, welcome back to the Traxion YouTube channel and welcome to Summit Point for this iRacing Touring Car Challenge track guide. Now we've all probably cut our teeth here at Summit Point on iRacing and race around here in the global Mazdas. However, in the touring cars, things are a little bit different because they are front wheel drive. It's all about being super smooth with your inputs. We'll talk about that more when we get into the track guide. So if you followed my track guides before, you'll know that they are not a place for hot laps. It's a slow, methodical approach where we talk about my braking markers, my reference points, and the little quirks that each circuit has. So as usual, I will show you a flying lap in full, then we'll jump in the car, do a few laps, show you those braking markers and reference points in action. Then at the end, we'll talk about pit entry, pit exit, and where I think you might be able to overtake here at Summit Point. So enough talking. Let's get on track. So here we are then on the main start finish straight here at Summit Point Raceway. So as usual, we've set the sim time to match the official series. So it's the 7th of May 2022 and the time of the sim is 6:45 p.m. We're also using the iRacing sprint setup, which is what is used in the official series. Track temperature right now, as you can see on screen, is 26 degrees Celsius. Exactly the same as it was in the flying lap that you've just seen. Brake bias this week, we have gone way down to 40.8%. Now, there are a couple of really heavy braking areas here at Summit Point where the lower brake bias is going to help us out. But the rest of the lap, all we're doing is braking nice and gently and taking a little bit of speed off. So 40.8% seems to work well around here. Now, the flying lap that you've just seen wasn't the quickest lap in the session. However, it was a true representation of what you can expect around here. That fastest lap in the session was done on my second out lap, and I don't think it's fair to show a track guide where I'm kind of using the tyres at their peak. So this was after about 4 to 5 laps, and it was a 15.1. Now, Summit Point, it's one of those circuits which punishes a front-wheel drive car. Round Summit Point, usually you get the rotation by using the accelerator to rotate the car using the rear wheels, but you can't do that obviously because we're in a front wheel drive car. So we've got to get the car to rotate in another way, and we're still going to use the accelerator, but we're going to use it in reverse. So you will see me lifting quite a bit, modulating the throttle. When you lift, obviously all of the weight is transferred to the front of the car, which makes the front tyres grip. That's what you've got to do a lot of around Summit Point. So, braking for turn number 1. There's the 3 cones there. We're going to be braking at the 3 cones or just before. And we're going to be braking all the way down into second gear. Now, it's really important to stay off the curb on the right-hand side. So, we're going to be turning in just round about where this new piece of asphalt is on the road. And we're going to be braking all the way to the apex. Now, another really important thing here at Summit Point, and something that you can practice because it will benefit you everywhere in the touring car, is the smooth transition from braking to to acceleration or braking to coasting. You never want to be just jumping off the brake in the touring car, because that braking compresses the front suspension. Lifting off the brake causes it to bounce up, and what you want to do is just release the brake gently just to get the front suspension to decompress, and you still want all of the weight, or as much of the weight as you possibly can, on the front tyres. So that's a really, really important skill that you need to practice and get down. It's really important here this week at Summit Point. So stay off the curb on the right hand side. We're going to be in second gear. If you hit that curb on the right, by the time the car has come off the curb and bounced and done whatever it's going to do, by the time you get to turn number 3, you've lost about 2/10. So it's really, really important to stay off that curb. So nice and tight all the way around turn number 2. Up to 4th gear. Now it's up to you whether you change up to 5th gear here. At this point, you're not really going to lose anything by staying in 4th. Downshifting to 4th gear to staying in 5th. Downshifting to 4th gear is just an extra thing that you need to think about. So I generally just leave it in 4th gear. Now we're going to be braking here as we approach this grassed area on the right hand side just before the turn. We're going to be braking around about 30%, and we're going to be just let the car coast to the apex. Again, nice and smooth off the brakes. And then at the apex, we're going to accelerate. The car will run out wide, use a bit of this curb on exit. If you go on the sand there, it's not too bad. You will get off track, but you've got to be, have your wheel right over to get off track. Up to 5th gear, going down towards the kink, down turn number 4. What I like to do is I like to accelerate all the way down and then lift at this point and let the car coast. Lifting obviously puts the weight forward, which gives us grip on the front tyres, which enables us to dictate where we want to position the car. And we want the car for turn number 5 over to the right hand side to open it up as much as we can. Again, we're going to be braking here down to about 40%, 50%, and we're going to trail brake all the way to the apex. Again, really important to just transition from brake to accelerator nice and smoothly. Then get on the accelerator, move the car over to the left for turn number 6. And again, a bit of brake to the apex, nice and smooth off. And then get on the gas. The car will push out wide, that's fine. And at this point from here, round turn 7, 8, and 9, you're going to see me modulating the throttle. Just lifting, just to get the weight of the car transferred forwards. So we're going to apex turn number 7 really late, because we want to open up turn number 8. Because it's really, really important to get turn number 8 right, which sets up turn number 9. Up to 4th gear, and then here we want to be turning in, modulating the throttle. It's cambered on the inside, turn number 9. You try and take a nice tight line. Try not to hit the curb though. Then up to 5th gear for turn number 10. Again, another really, really important turn. Now, in the heat of battle, it's really easy to rush into the final turn, try and brake as late as you can, try and think about the exit, but that doesn't work. You need to get the car nice and settled before you enter turn number 10. Now, you can see there's a sandy patch on the road surface there on the left-hand side. That's what we're going to be using. When you see that, I would rather brake a little bit earlier here and more gentle than later and hard. You want the car nice and settled before we turn in. So only a minimal amount of brake here, down to 4th gear, into the apex, let the car coast. Then at the apex, we're going to accelerate, and we're going to use all of this on exit. As long as you get in before the grass, you're fine. And that's the lap. It's only a short lap here. Right, so we'll pick up the pace a little bit now. So we're going to be up to 6th gear here, and we're going to be braking at the 3 cones, and we're going to be braking in a straight line all the way down to 2nd. Again, avoiding this curb on the right-hand side. Then accelerate nice and tight all the way around here. Up to 3rd. Then up to 4th. You can leave it in 4th. It will hit the rev limiter just. There we go. Nice and smooth with your braking and acceleration here. Tyres are still cold. Then up to 5th gear, going down the kink. And what I like to do is I like to lift and then just coast it round and then get on the brakes. Then we can move the car where we want it to go. Again, nice and smooth off. Then accelerate because we need the car over to the left. Same here when we're braking, but we're going to be nice and smooth off. And up to 3rd, and this is where I start modulating the accelerator now. I want all of the weight on the front, or as much of the weight on the front tyres as I possibly can, just to help me through that section. As you can see, the throttle trace there was up and down, but that's what you've got to do. So here, nice early braking, get the car settled, turn in, and then accelerate at the apex. And there we go. Right, we'll pick up the pace for one more lap. We're going to be up to 6th gear, braking at the 3 cones. Nice and hard on your brakes, probably about 90%, maybe more. All the way down to 2nd gear, stay off the curb. And see how quickly I was off the brake then, and see what it did. It pushed it wide. And we're 4/10ths down just off that one turn by lifting off too early. And then down to 4th gear. Then get on the gas at the apex. And I'll do the same down here. We'll lift off really sharply. You can see the understeer, so we'll do what we normally do. And then we'll brake. And then we've just got massive understeer. You look at the brake trace there, you can see it just dropped off. And you've just got no grip on the front tyres. We'll do the same here. If we accelerate all the way around here, it just pushes wide, and then that pushes us wide here. And then we've got to brake so we don't go off track. And I'll do the same on the final turn so you can see the impact that that has. So we'll brake late, down to 4th, and then we're going to be off. Just doesn't work. So one more lap. It's up to 6th gear. And here we're going to be concentrating on a smooth transition from brake to accelerator. There we go. Much nicer. And the same here. Really important. Nice and smooth. I'd much rather brake earlier than later. So again, nice and smooth. Got the gas at the apex. Same here. We're going to be lifting. Want the car over to the right. Nice and smooth. And the same here. Nice and smooth transition. Just to keep the weight of the front tyres. And here's where we modulate. Really, really important to do that. If you don't, then you're not going to get round. I never lifted completely, but it's just that modulation. So now nice and smooth transition again here. At the apex, we can get the accelerator. Let it run wide. That's how not to do it and how to do it. If you're going to practice anything this week, I would practice that smooth transition from brake to accelerator. It's really, really important skill. It will help you in any car you drive on iRacing, but it's really, really important in the touring car. Right, let's have a look at pit entry, pit exit, and where I think you can overtake. So pit entry here at Summit Point isn't too bad. The only thing you need to bear in mind is as you approach the pit, it's after the long straight before the final turn. Make sure that you position your car on the right hand side, just so people know that you're going in the pits. The last thing you want to be is on the outside when you need to get in the pits and somebody goes for an overtake into the final turn. So there is a nasty right-hander just as you enter the pits. It's not too bad. You just need to get rid of your speed just approaching. And the yellow cone is just round the corner. So you need to get your pit limiter on at this point. Really, really straightforward. Pit exit is actually really good here at Summit Point. There's the green cone, so we're going to release the limiter at that point, but we're going to stay on the right-hand side of the circuit. There we go. There's a big long straight all the way down to turn number 1. The only thing you need to bear in mind is if people are coming round on a flying lap or they come to lap you, just make sure that you stay over to the right-hand side. Keep an eye on your relative, as always, but there's no dramas exiting the pits unless people are going too wide on the approach to turn number 1. But as long as you keep an eye on your relative, you'll be fine. Right, overtaking. Where's it going to happen? So overtaking here then at Summit Point this week, it's not going to be that easy. There's only a couple of places where you can get a clean overtake done. The rest of the time, we're going to have to rely on people making mistakes, or more importantly, making people make a mistake. Get them to overdrive. As we've discussed in the track guide, it's really, really important to have the optimal line, to have the transfer from brake to accelerator as smooth as you can. Well, if you're offline and you're in the heat of battle, that's more difficult to do. And that's what you want to try and do, is make people just be a little bit more erratic with their controls whilst being a lot smoother with yours. So turn number 1 is going to be the obvious pass in place. We're going to assume, as always, that people are going to defend. And we're going to talk about during this lap what we can do to combat their defensive driving. So people are going to be right over to the right-hand side here. They're going to be defending this inside line like crazy. Well, what can we do? We're not going to go around the outside of turn number 1. Unlikely anyway. What we're going to have to do is make them go a little bit deeper than they normally would. We're going to have to make them overshoot their braking or have to take a really tight line and push themselves wide on exit. So I would sit behind them in this position all the way down as long as I possibly could. You don't want to give them the opportunity to take the middle of the circuit. You want them to think that if they move away from this point, you're going to take the inside line and you've got the overtake done. So you want to hold this position for as long as you can, then move over. And we're going to brake a little bit deeper than we normally would. So just after the 3 cones, we're going to be braking hard. Again, all the way down to 2nd gear. And we're going to be turning in a little bit later, because if they're on the inside, their exit speed is going to be massively compromised. And what we are thinking of doing is switching this back, so late apex this time, and having the inside line. If it works, if it all goes to plan, they're going to be on our left-hand side here because they've gone a little bit deep because their line isn't great. And then we can hopefully switch it back, overtake them around turn number 2, and get in front of them turn number 3. If not, then it will be possible to go around turn number 3, too wide on the outside in the touring cars, as long as you're racing with somebody who's going to play ball. So a nice wide line, but then that doesn't really put you in a great position going down the hill towards turn number 5. There's not really going to be any overtaking done there, really. But again, in the touring cars, around the outside turn number 5, it's going to be a legitimate move as long as you're racing somebody who's not going to send you off onto the grass. So it's going to be exactly the same. We're going to be 2nd gear, and we're going to be holding an outside line as tight as you possibly can. But if you've got the outside line, if you can get the gas a little bit sooner because your corner is a little bit more open than theirs, so you're going to carry a little bit more corner speed, then you've got the inside line for turn number 6 and 7. And if you're on the inside here, then you've got the overtake done. There's no way around the outside around these 2 turns. After this point, nothing really is going to happen. Maybe if somebody gets a bad exit out of turn number 9, you might get a run going down to turn number 10, but it's probably unlikely. People are going to defend down here because it's at the end of a long straight. That's fine. We're going to do exactly the same as we did for turn number 1. And we're going to sit behind them all the way down as long as we can. But we're going to keep in mind we want our car nice and settled. We're going to move the car over. We're going to brake nice and early. And then we're going to try and think about the exit. We're going to try and get a really, really good exit out of the final turn. And hopefully they've had a bad one. And then we can get the move down into turn number 1. And it all starts over again. So that would be my advice. If somebody defends into turn number 1, sit behind them all the way down. Make them stick to the inside line, compromise their exit, brake a little bit deeper and go for the switchback turn number 2. If that doesn't work, if you're still side by side, there is a possibility of holding the outside line around turn 3, probably too wide around 4, and holding the outside line around 5. And if you can manage to do that, then you can overtake them around 6 and 7. Nothing's going to happen around 8 and 9, but the final turn, turn number 10, people are going to defend there. Think about the exit. Think about getting a really, really good slingshot out of turn number 10. And then hopefully you'll get the inside line into turn number 1. So there we go. That's Summit Point done. Please let us know down below in the comments how you get on. What were your times before the guide and what were your times after? Did I help? Did I cover everything that you wanted to be covered in a track guide? Now I'll mention again, really, really important to be smooth with your inputs. I can't stress that enough. That's what's going to get you a decent lap around Summit Point. If you're not, then you're going to be struggling and you're going to be wondering why everybody's a second quicker per lap. So really, really smooth with your inputs. Brake earlier, brake lighter, and come off the brakes smoother. As always, thanks for watching. Good luck. Keep it pinned.